Shalom, this is the first video of many which I will go into talking about building character and character quality training in our children. This is an important topic for parents who are looking at homeschooling their children or looking at curriculum to homeschool their children, looking at supplementing public, private, and cyber school education, and parents who are looking at or leaders who are looking at Bible study lessons for children or Shabbat studies for children. Character quality development is very, very important for our children. The Torah teaches us the commands of the Almighty. Deuteronomy chapter 6, it tells us as parents that we are to diligently teach the commandments to our children. Diligently. And, you know, the word for teaching them diligently is basically to kind of keep on prodding and getting them to understand it in the morning and in the evening, when we rise up, when we lie down, as we walk along the way. So of course we're going to be teaching them, you know, Shabbat and holy days and you know, all these important things, but we also need to teach them the importance of having a good character, of having integrity and having honor and loyalty, but also having joy. You know, all these things are very important. When Yeshua was asked what was the greatest commandment, he said to love Yah with all our hearts and all of our minds and all of our strength. And he said the second commandment was like it, which is to love our neighbor as ourselves. And how do we do these things? You know, do we do these by keeping the Shabbat perfectly or by eating clean? Yeah, we do that by that, but we also do it by how we treat people on this earth, and also our relationship with the Almighty. How faithful are we? And this is where our character comes in. So I will have a link on the description of this video. It's also on our webpage to a PDF file that has 49 character qualities and scriptures that go with them. I will also be developing my own resource for this. When that is done, that will also be added to the description section of this video and also the homeschool resource page on our website. But just to tell you about another resource, and I will tell you also what the character qualities are. These are little character trait cards, character quality cards that I will have a link to that you could purchase. And there's an animal associated with each character quality. And so some of these character qualities, that was deference versus rudeness, alertness versus unawareness, humility versus pride, the turkey vulture, this is a turkey vulture, contentment versus covetousness, this is the deer mouse. You know, orderliness versus disorganization. Security versus anxiety. I'm just going to read them. Loyalty versus unfaithfulness. Resourcefulness versus wastefulness. Gentleness versus harshness. Cautiousness versus rashness. Enthusiasm versus apathy. Gratefulness versus unthankfulness. Hospitality versus loneliness. Initiative versus unresponsiveness. Diligence versus slothfulness. The beaver. One of my favorite ones. Tolerance versus prejudice. Compassion versus indifference. Persuasiveness versus contentiousness. Self-control versus self-indulgence. Faith versus presumption. Obedience versus willfulness. Flexibility versus resistance. There's animals here for everyone. Forgiveness versus rejection. Boldness versus fearfulness. Determination versus faint-heartedness. Benevolence versus selfishness. Dependability versus inconsistency. endurance versus giving up, meekness versus anger, discretion versus simple-mindedness, punctuality versus tardiness, virtue versus impurity, attentiveness versus unconcern, joyfulness versus self-pity. This is one of our favorite ones in our family, the river otter. It's a favorite animal that we like to revisit when we're looking at being joyful. Sincerity versus hypocrisy, generosity versus stinginess, creativity versus indifference, responsibility versus unreliability, decisiveness versus double-mindedness, availability versus self-centeredness. This is very important for children. And a cute animal, the giraffe. Wisdom versus natural inclinations, patience versus resistance, truthfulness versus deception, honor versus disrespect. So I just went through all those cards because I thought it was important to tell you all what animals are included in this set of cards. So what we do with these cards is the children will research the animal, and they will look at, what kind of families they have, where they live. I'll have a list of questions that we use for the children. This is at elementary school level, so some of the questions are a little bit, simple or straightforward. But the questions that we ask about the animal and asking the children to look in the scriptures, and with the help of a parent or a teacher to go through and find a scripture in the Bible for the character quality, and then to talk about how they can apply that character quality in their own life. And that's very important. And then what we do, so they either do that with an animal using these cards. Some of my children have actually looked at the character trait and decided another animal that they really wanted to look at. And so that's a great activity for them to do, looking at their own animal, coming up with their own animal, researching their own animal, and connecting some of the character traits of that animal with the character quality. Something else that we have done is instead of it being an animal, being a person who's alive or a person in history, looking at that person's life and their accomplishments or their achievements and saying, okay, what did this person do that lines up with this character quality? And so what we do is we actually have the children to make poster boards. I'll show pictures of those in the video, and they do presentations with each other. And so they do a presentation. It could be at, Shabbat study. It could be, a video over Skype or Hangouts or FaceTime or Messenger video with other children that you might know. And so they can kind of have more of a community and open up a conversation with other children about developing character. This is something that my friend Hannah really came up with for our children to do. And so we would do that over Hangouts because she isn't located in Pittsburgh. But we have expanded that to be part of our observance and our how we teach our children, how we train our children, good character and good character qualities. Before I end this video, I want to just really encourage parents that, especially new parents coming into the faith, that it's not all about just teaching our children to do the Sabbath and to eat clean and to do the feast days. It's very important, of course, for us to teach our children those things. But at the end of the day, we want to have children who have utmost character, upstanding character, upstanding people, really. You know what I mean? That's what our community is. So when there is a need and they see it, that they are quick to, first of all, be attentive to that need and quick to respond to that need, quick to try to be helpful. We want children who are joyful and who are thinking about others. And so, these are just certain things that focusing on character quality and character building and character training can bring out in our children. We've been doing this for almost 4 years now, going through these character qualities. So it's not something that you have to do all 49 in a month or all 49 in a year or all 49 in a day. It's something that, you could just spread out over time. And if other children are picking different qualities that they're talking about, your children are going to hear about those other qualities. And remarkably, they will remember as well. Yah bless.